right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Renatus J.A.M. My name is Jay Stark, and joining me, as always, is my fearless co-host,
Senor Matt Snyder.
Senor Matt Snyder.
Yes, Mateo.
Mateo Snyder. Now we're changing it from Matt to Mateo.
I think people call me, when I go to Mexico, they say Mateo. And
they call me Mr. Snyder.
I'm assuming that means Matt and not, like
Bug.
Moron or something. I have no idea.
Oh, man. Funny. So, Mr. Snyder.
Yeah.
Senor Mateo.
That's me.
What's new and exciting?
My goodness. There's so much. I mean, I should have thought about. I was thinking about the stories that we're going to talk about.
All right, here's what we're going to do. Is after we share, we each have a story we're going to share.
Yeah.
And I want you guys, our audience, to rate whose story was more impactful.
Oh gosh! All right.
It's on.
Okay.
I'm calling it.
Jay's got a good one. I didn't know we were competing when I was choosing stories.
Stark is Latin for competition.
I believe
I believe my
that.
family can make a competition out of anything.
And I've seen it. It's true. He's competitive.
It's funny because my wife and I are both very competitive, but very different levels of competitive.
Oh, yeah. Different in how you're competitive?
Yeah, she's very competitive with herself. She's going to push herself beyond. I'm very competitive with other people to the point of it being ridiculous.
So your wife is internal.
Hey, wait. Before we go down that road, that's not fair.
I'm messing. That's funny, though. Yeah, I'm not competitive at all with other people, but I am very competitive with myself. I got to beat my last mile time. I've got to, beat my last bench.
And
I've got to.
It really concerns me for my children, who are now the fruits of both levels of competitiveness.
They're competitive all around.
Yes, and I'm worried for my kids.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with good. As a matter of fact, I really appreciate good, healthy competition. I love it. It makes everybody better. So I absolutely love it. Like when I, big into racing.
Oh, yeah.
I love it when there's a friendly rivalry. There's this,
mutual respect.
But yet
still a desire to win.
Yeah, they're friends all other days of the week, but on Saturday they're going at
it was really interesting. I was reading an article about two women who are actually from Utah who are running this crazy endurance race right now that's being broadcast on USA, I think.
Oh.
And they are...
Is it the Moab 240?
No. This is I'm trying to think of where it was. It was somewhere... They started with 8 teams. It's kind of... It's a mix between a reality show and an endurance race.
So is this adventure racing?
Yes, but it's not the big one.
Like that Mark Wahlberg just did a movie. I saw it. I didn't even know
Charles
what this...
or King Richard or whatever that was.
I didn't even know what this was, but it was such a good movie.
Did you watch it?
Yeah, it was so good.
How much of it is about the dog?
A pretty good.
Okay. Because my daughter wants to watch it for the dog. My wife wants to watch it for the race. I don't want to watch it at all because, I don't want Mark Wahlberg showing me up.
All right. Well, so it's really good. It's about both.
Okay.
Right? It's about his journey through failure and then trying again and not giving up.
All right.
And then,
watch the movie.
It's about the dog. And I don't want to
Spoilers.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil. I'm trying to think of how, but it's
the dog
about
flies to the moon.
It's about both their journeys.
Okay.
And it's about how the dog can really kind of derails Mark Wahlberg's journey through this. And now it becomes about the dog and it becomes about more, in other words. It's so beautiful. Look, I had no idea what this movie was. We just sat down and we're like, hey, let's find a movie. And it was with a dog and my kids. I was watching it with my kids. And I was like, this is a good, this is a movie.
I told you, my daughter wants to watch it because
I don't have to worry
dog.
about. So I had tears.
Okay.
And I
Well,
don't think I've ever cried over a dog. So, but it was
What
such
are
an
you trying to
inspirational,
say?
sweet moment to watch everybody come together.
Old
So,
Yeller die in the end?
Well, it was-
Don't.
look, all I'm telling you is
Don't.
is what was so beautiful is how everybody came together.
All right.
I loved it.
All right. So the whole point of my story before
Yeah.
I was so rudely interrupted was that there's this endurance race that's going on.
Okay.
And it was really interesting. These two women were highlighted. It was what's really interesting, there were like 8 teams competing on this thing, right?
Yeah.
5 of the teams are from Utah.
Well,
That's how big endurance sports are here.
Well, I was gonna say, yeah, it's everything here.
Right.
It's
crazy.
so big.
Crazy. But and I'm married to one of those crazy endurance racers, so I understand crazy.
Yep.
But the story is about that these two women, their shtick, what makes them very unique is that, one, they're the only dual women pair still in the competition. 2, they're both mothers, and between them have like 9 kids, I think. One has 4, one has 5.
Wow. Okay.
And are endurance racers. And it was really interesting because in that article they interviewed them, and they actually said, yeah, you know what, we are the people that are going to cheer on everybody. We want everybody to run their best race.
Yeah.
And we want to run ours just a little bit better.
I love it.
And I just thought, that is a great way to put it. I want everyone to run their best race. I just want to do a little bit better.
Agreed. And I can respect that. I love that. I love that kind of competition.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah. And when it comes to those endurance races, it is so much less about making some phenomenal time than it is about everybody competing and excelling and everybody being able to complete the task.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of the things that's really cool about those Spartan races that they do. And I don't even know if Spartan races exist outside of Utah. I've only seen them here. I assume they do.
I have made the assumption that they do. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah, I don't even know now. Well, anyway, the whole point is my kids are going to be very competitive.
Yeah.
But hopefully they do it in a endurance kind of way.
Yep.
Celebrate everybody's success and do your very best.
Yeah, I'll tell you a story. This was not one I had planned.
Oh, great. Here goes another story.
But
I'm still going to win.
Travis Pastrana was the first freestyle motocrosser to really pull off a backflip consistent. He really got to be the best, probably the quickest. There was a few guys who had pulled off. You know, Carey Hart did the first one in competition at the Gravity Games. Mike Metzger, you know, really brought it to competition for real, where he would, you know, pull it off inside the middle of a run and keep going and all that kind of stuff. But Travis really got it dialed and started doing tricks with his backflips. Anyways, nobody else could compete. He literally excelled past so he was going to, you know, walk away with gold every time because nobody else could really do a backflip, and definitely not with tricks and stuff. So he brought out, I don't remember exactly how many it was. I think probably the top dozen, maybe top 10, top dozen of the freestyle motocross riders to his house and taught them all how to backflip into his foam pit. He literally single-handedly brought the sport up to his level so he could compete with them. And I've always loved that story. And he continues to do that kind of stuff. I mean, that's just the way he is. He wants to see the sport progress, and it was such a beautiful thing.
What do they call it? Pastrana Land?
Yes. Yeah, his house in Maryland is called Pastrana Land, and nobody's off limits, I guess. I've never been. I'm not friends with him, but like apparently if you go though, even if you're like the camera guy, they're going to make you do something. So, you know what I mean? Like,
is that how they get all those big wheels and stuff involved? They're like, this guy can't ride a dirt bike.
They're always having fun. They're always pushing the limits. They're always trying new stuff. They're always innovating, and I love it.
I know that they don't force anybody to do anything, but they're also the ones that have the guys in wheelchairs that are doing crazy backflips off of huge jumps.
Oh yeah, that kid. I did a Good Vibrations on him.
Was it
Aaron Fotheringham? Aaron Wheels is what they call him.
Yeah.
But he came from Utah. He came from Sandy. So
Right on.
And I just saw a clip of him not too long ago of pulling off some world record jump, in a wheelchair. So look that up. Aaron Fotheringham, Fotherham.
Just look up Travis Pastrana and then look up wheels.
Yeah, just look up Travis Pastrana wheels, or
you'll find him.
I'm sure you will. So
really
cool.
So back to the topic at hand, which was new and exciting.
Yeah, well, that was cool too.
That was cool. That was exciting. It wasn't new.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Cool story, bro.
Thanks.
Let's put that in the cool story
Okay.
bin, as my kids are wont to say.
All right, we'll bring us back on track.
So
Bore us to death.
Oh my gosh. You know what, Aaron? Cut him out of the frame.
He's going to cut my mic. Right. I'm going to get the hook.
Yeah. So we have the Leaders Retreat coming up in Punta Cana, Dominican Republic.
Yes, we do.
And we have, I think, the estimations of how many people we're going to have
1 million people.
is going to be a couple hundred people. Like, we are going to have the biggest turnout for a Leaders Retreat.
Yeah,
ever.
I think it's more than a couple hundred, isn't it? I think it's more than that.
I think it is. I haven't verified the number. That's the reason why I was being deliberately vague.
Well, we need to be deliberately vague then.
Yeah, I don't have the exact number.
We can't back up these figures.
Exactly.
It's not non-compliant.
A lot. There's going to be a lot of people there. Take that for whatever it means.
Okay.
And I am super excited. It's going to be so much fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. Dude, that's hilarious. I love it. Oh, man. I so wish, though, that when my mouth moved, it was Jay's head and his mouth moving.
No. We are not going to start doing
AI for that, though.
Start doing that kind of thing. My daughter has recently tried to get me and my wife into Snapchat. And I had to realize that Snapchat is nothing more than a picture-oriented conversation.
Okay.
You have to look at it that way because you can't go back through the history and see, what is she responding to? What is this? And that's the reason why you have to keep it current. And so for her, it is so offensive if I leave her unopened for so long, or if I leave her delivered, which means I opened it, or if I just don't respond. And I'm like, what is going on? Well, it's because it's a graphical conversation. It's a conversation you have only through pictures, and you got to keep it going or you forget where you are.
Wow. So they force you into like the staying up with
force is a hard word.
Sure.
But yeah,
I don't
they
know
definitely.
If I can do that. I get so behind, especially like Marco Polos and stuff.
It's so funny because, don't tell her I said this. And for anybody online, if you know my daughter, do not tell her. But I just start taking pictures of myself. Like, I don't even know what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
So I literally, anytime that I see one of her snaps, I just take a picture of myself and send it back to her. Like, I don't know what I'm doing.
That's funny.
Snapchat, it's a whole new world, folks.
Jay on Snapchat. That is new and exciting.
No, it's not exciting. It is new, but it's not exciting. Anyway, speaking of things that are new and exciting, I hope that everybody is following along with some of the advancements we've made with social media. Both with Woody, Bob, and myself, all getting out there a lot more, trying to respond to people, having a good time. I hope you guys are enjoying that content. It is so much fun for us to make. It is a conscientious effort, though.
Oh yeah,
I know it looks natural, but it takes some time.
You guys have done a phenomenal job. I absolutely love it. It's what I've been wanting to see for so long. I mean, we've all had this conversation, and it's time, money, resources.
Yep.
From my dad, we literally needed somebody who could follow him around and,
oh my goodness,
and take video because he's a busy guy. And
it got bad enough we had to hire his daughter.
Yeah.
She was the one that had the highest level of access that could be like, Dad, sit. We're going to record this.
Exactly. So. Somebody's just going to show up at his house. Hey, we're going to film this now. So, yeah.
Oh, man.
It works out.
All right. So we have the Leaders Retreat up and coming. We also have regionals that are just right around the corner.
Yep.
But right now we are entering summer, right? Kids are out of school. The warmer's getting weather. That was good. Wordsing.
Yeah, the warmer is getting weather.
The warmer is getting weather. And we're starting to see it's really interesting. In real estate, when you invest in real estate, you learn really quickly that you do the opposite of the trend, right? If the trend is that everybody's selling, that's when you're buying.
Right.
If the trend is everybody's buying, that's when you're selling.
It's like that stock guy. Everybody takes the opposite of his advice and does well. I don't know his name. I don't follow stocks.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's generally speaking, that's true.
Well, when it comes to business, when it comes to success, oftentimes what you find is people that do not follow the trends, but instead are setting the trends. And the way that they do that is by staying disciplined. They stay focused. And so when other people are going to sleep, they're waking up. When other people are going on vacation, they're getting to work, and during the summertime, that's when a lot of people want to take vacation. That's when you're going to see the successful, disciplined folks getting busy.
I know them, and I see it's true. And Christmas time's the other time of the year that I see a lot of people, like all of December kind of just is a wash for a lot of people. Yeah. And it's been that way for me at times too. Some years, are just worse than others.
It gets a little crazy with all of the events, and May has become like the new December, especially if you have kids, because it's the end of everything, right? The end of the school year. It's the last game, the last concert, the last recital, the last whatever. And there's graduations now for every grade. There's celebrations for this, parties for that, and you got to be everywhere all at once.
Yep.
And so here's what I was hoping that we could do on this podcast today. I want to take a little bit of time, and I wanted to highlight a couple of stories. And I talked about this being a competition. That is 99% a joke. There's 1% that's not a joke, but 99% a joke. But instead,
there's a little not.
There's a little bit of truth in every joke, right?
So look, you're gonna have to pipe in. You're gonna have to say who won.
Just tell Jay that he's smart and pretty, and we'll all get along.
I think it'd be funnier if everybody just says that I won, whether or not I did or not. I think that would be really funny.
No, no, dear viewer, do not be peer pressured into just abdicating to Matt.
When has peer pressure ever led you astray?
Oh my gosh. So here's the deal. As we're going into this season where a lot of people like to take time off, I thought it would be really cool for us to share a couple of demonstrations of stories that can show why taking this time off may not be the right decision. So Matt, I'm going to give you first crack at it. You get to go first. I'll back clean up, and we'll see who did better.
I didn't find these stories based off of that.
Now he's just making excuses. You guys all hear it at home, right? He's already backpedaling here.
I absolutely love.
He's scared.
I love people that overcome some kind of limitation, kind of challenge. They really were in a state of struggle, and then they succeeded. Tyson Fury is one of those for me that I absolutely love those stories. Like, his story is so incredible because he first of all should have died at birth.
Yeah.
He was born, I've got it here. He was 1 pound at birth. 1 pound. He stands 6'9", 275 pounds. He was 1 pound at birth. He was born 3 months premature. He really should not have survived, especially, back in the time and place that he was born, which he was born in the 80s, and not in the best of conditions. And so he was born into a gypsy family. They had a long tradition of bare knuckle prize fighting, and it was a pretty brutal upbringing, I guess. A lot of drinking, a lot of drugs, a lot of fighting in his childhood. But by the time he was 10 years old, he started to want to fight and do this and box and stuff, and so he started fighting people bigger than him, family members, relatives, anybody that would fight him. And while they were all out getting drunk and having fun, he would always be in the gym working, improving his craft. Well, he won all sorts of titles as an amateur boxer. He became really good. Then he became pro at 20 years old, and he really worked his way up through the ranks. He beat quite a few opponents and got the chance at becoming a British heavyweight title fight against John McDermott. And he got a win by decision there, which got him the belt. And then he also got another shot at John McDermott and won as well. And so he went on to fight all these fighters, defending his title. But what was so cool, I mean, the list of belts and titles that he's won is so long. But what was really cool about his story is he got to the top of boxing. He won the biggest victory against Klitschko, the Russian.
Yeah.
And after that fight, it was like he had reached the top of the mountain. And the reason I love this story is because I think that it's more applicable to life. A lot of these stories are like they struggled and then they won.
Right.
And the end, happily ever after.
That's not his story.
No, and that's what I love about it because it's real. Like, he got to the top of boxing and then, he lost his focus. He fell into a deep depression. He started drinking and doing drugs. He lost his will and motivation to fight. He gained a whole bunch, like over 100 pounds. He was over 400 pounds and became suicidal. And he lost his belt because he couldn't rematch anybody. Like he wasn't capable of
Wasn't
fighting.
it that he couldn't even make the health qualifications to get in the ring or whatever?
I don't know, but he definitely wasn't in a place to fight a professional fighter,
right?
After about a year's time of this, and so there was no rematch against anybody. And anyways, lost the belt. He was supposed to fight Klitschko again, and couldn't do it. And Tyson says that the addiction and depression was a stronger opponent than anything he'd ever come up against before, which is kind of the hero's journey twice, I guess, in his story. But he endured this battle for 2.5 years before he finally hit rock bottom. And one day he finally decided enough was enough. And I know what you're thinking. Oh, he gave up the drugs and alcohol. No, he was going to unalive himself. I don't know if we're going to get
expire himself.
Yeah, ripped off YouTube or whatever. But so he got in his Ferrari, which proof that, it's not going to solve, cool cars aren't going to solve everything, but they do solve a lot of problems.
No, you solve a lot of problems,
I'm just
and
kidding.
some of the results of that
That's
can
a
be
joke.
Ferrari.
It's a joke, but Ferraris are cool. But anyways, he was headed down a road at 190 miles an hour, and he was headed towards a bridge. And his thought was, "I'll just hit the pole, and it'll be over." The pole of the bridge. And he said that he didn't care about anything, and he just wanted to die so bad. And just as he headed towards this bridge pole at 190 miles an hour, this is his words. He says, I don't know if this is audibly or in his head, but he says he heard a voice that said, "No, don't do this, Tyson. Think about your kids and family. Think about your boys and girls growing up with no father, and everyone saying your dad was a weak man and took the easy way out." So he pulled over the car. He got out. He said he was shaking. Obviously, the adrenaline, everything, it would be quite intense. And he decided to go get help. And he got into a doctor, and I don't know the extent of treatment and stuff that he went through, but he came back. He came back to fighting after, I believe it was about a year's time of being sober and everything. Deontay Wilder was at the top of boxing at this time, and it just so happened that the very week that Tyson decided to come back to boxing, Deontay did an interview about how he saw a picture of Tyson at 400 plus pounds and doing drugs and all this stuff, and knew that he would never come back, and so he was like, Deontay Wilder saying, "I could beat Tyson even in his prime, blah blah blah, whatever, like he's never coming back, I'm the guy, I'm the top of boxing, and that I could have beat him when he was in his prime anyways, blah blah blah," right? Well, this lit a fire up under Tyson, and he regained hope through this comeback challenge. He regained purpose through it, and compelled by this challenge of a worthy opponent, he strived for it, and he trained for it was 6 months he trained for. It's been a while since I've been through this story, but Got sober, lost the weight, transformed himself into a boxing legend once again, and he made his way back into the ring in 2019. And after 2 easy victories, he was given the chance to fight Deontay Wilder. That first fight ended in a draw, which, had to have been brutal for both of them. But to settle the dispute...
Oh, that probably would have ticked off Deontay Wilder a lot more than Tyson
can you
Fury.
imagine making those comments?
Oh, no.
I'm sure, I haven't actually seen the clip, but I'm sure he probably made all sorts of derogatory remarks.
I'm sure he did.
And then to have that guy come back and you can't beat him.
Right. It's a draw.
After all that. But, yeah, it's true. But, so then, they finally got another rematch. And in this rematch, Tyson came out on top after Wilder threw in the towel in the 12th round. What are you doing?
I'm taking a picture.
Are you on Snapchat right now?
No, I'm not on Snapchat right now.
Okay,
I'm taking a picture for Richard. Richard just sent me a text. He said there's no J.A.M today.
Oh, what?
Yeah, he's being a goober.
Is he? Are we not broadcasting?
I think we're totally broadcasting.
Oh, you're looking
I'm watching
at it.
this.
Cool. Okay. Well, anyway, so this fight, this second one, ended in Tyson beating him.
Boom.
And then they fought again in 2021, and that one lasted 11 grueling rounds. And after being knocked down more than once himself, Tyson ended the fight by KO in the 11th round, knockout. For those that don't follow boxing, but anyways, such a cool story. Tyson, I'm trying to find, there's several quotes that he's talked about it, but what an inspirational story. I think true to life, where you can make it to the top and, go through very many difficult things on the way up.
Yeah.
But once you make it to the top, that's not the end of the story in life, in real life. It's not, there's usually a new battle that you must fight. That's kind of, I think that's a large part of why we're here, is to fight those battles.
Oh yeah.
And to learn and grow through that process.
You've got a quote in there where he talks about that he has started becoming attracted to and disciplined all about the process, that it's not about the destination.
Yes.
And he talks about how anywhere he goes in the world, he can find a gym, because that's his new drug of choice, is the gym, is going in and working out. And you've got a quote about that somewhere.
He says he was talking to a reporter, and the reporter asked him, in some measure, the routine of fighting of a fighting man's life, that's your medicine, right? He's asking a question, and Tyson says, 100%. The training is my medicine. I used to think all along it was boxing, but it's not. It's keeping fit. So without training for me, if I don't have a week off at the gym, or he's saying if I do have a week off at the gym, I copied this word for word, and he speaks with a very thick accent.
Yeah.
And it's not proper English.
Yeah, it's broken English.
It's, he grew up in a gypsy family, so it's, yeah. But he says, without training, or if I have a week off, I'm severely depressed and I don't want to live anymore. And that's even truthful now, as he's saying this, giving this to this reporter after all these wins and coming back. So, the reporter says, well, so it's something you have to guard against. And he says, 100%, I've got to keep that training going all the time, no matter where I am in the world. I've got me kick bag and with me, and I'll do some work in and out, and it's easy. Everyone works out all over the world. It's not a big mission today. Basically saying, I keep my bag with me no matter where I go in the world. I travel. Yes. It's in my it's in my duffel bag, and I'm going to do it no matter where I am.
That's awesome. Being committed to that process is such a massive part of finding satisfaction in this life. Realizing that it's about the progress, not about the destination. Mm-hmm. and always being willing to give up give up what's in front of you for what you really want.
Yeah.
Give up the easy so that you can have the great.
I love it. I've talked a little bit about it, but a lot of these stories have changed my mindset over the years. And now I run 100 miles a month, and I am training for this big thing.
Man, I was going to say you're looking pretty trim.
Well, thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you run 100 miles a month
you start to trim down
for a long time, and
there you go. That's Matt's fitness routine right there.
Yeah. All you got to do is run 100 miles a month and lift weights and cut out sugar
and just be careful on your diet. Get good sleep
and live a life devoid of all joy.
Oh my gosh, that's not true. We were talking about honey as we got started today.
Yeah, that's true. I do enjoy toast with honey on it. So. Or crave cookies when they tend to come in the office.
All right.
But
so
anyways, my
point.
What I was saying though is that I absolutely love the process. It's never ever been about something to train for. I don't even actually care about training for. I've found what Tyson's talking about. That beauty in that process of just I've got to do it. It's so nice to just go on a 5 or a 10 mile run and not even wear earbuds for a while. I do sometimes, but I also a lot of the time don't, and just enjoy the peace and silence. I can think, I can process stuff. I love it. I think that's what he's referring to here.
There's a let's see, in psychology they call it flow.
Yes.
When you can find that rhythm.
Flow state,
yeah.
Yeah.
And when I used to run more than I do now, now I run to and from the door.
Yeah.
But no, when I used to run, I could get into that state.
Yeah.
Where you get kind of the runner's high, you get so like the tempo of the rhythm of the motion, you get into that state, man.
You do.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's really it's a cool thing. It doesn't mean every run's that way. At least for me, there's many of them that are just miserable, and there's also something really beautiful in that suffering, in that suck. It just sucks so bad. It's hot. You're dying basically.
You're uncomfortable. Your muscles are yelling at you.
Uncomfortable, and taking another step. Like you literally get to the point where it's like, you want to quit so bad, but you keep going, and that I think trains you for other things. It applies to other things in your life.
Now we could talk about that for a while.
Yeah.
Because you are so right. The further you're willing to step outside of your comfort zone, the more comfortable that becomes, and the bigger your comfort zone gets.
That's true.
And then the next harder thing you can do.
Yeah.
And then the next, and the next. And anyway, I've got a story.
All right, let's hear your story.
My
It's gonna be inferior to mine, but
your story was good. Mine's going to be better. My story is more of a cautionary tale.
All right, let's hear it.
In Monterey Park, California, 1982.
All right, let's see. Yeah. Okay.
There's a football game between two high schools. At this football game, and I wish I knew exactly how many people were in attendance because it would probably be more dramatic. The last football game I went to, there were probably, 400 people there, maybe.
Okay, yeah.
So at this football game, 1982, a woman gets ill and starts to projectile vomit. Now, I apologize for being so descriptive. If you've had kids, you know what I'm talking about. She gets really sick at this football game.
Uh-huh.
And there's a doctor nearby. In his desire to help her and thereby also diagnose what the cause of said illness was, he looked and realized that she had recently just downed a Coke from the refreshment stand.
Okay.
And told everybody that they shouldn't drink the Coke from that refreshment stand.
Okay.
This is right after halftime. Okay. 1982. The announcer decides to announce it over the PA.
Okay.
That drinking Coke from that particular refreshment stand will make you sick. Here's the result. You ready for this?
Oh, I can't wait. I think I know where this is headed, but yes, I want to hear this.
From the field, more than 60 people were taken to the hospital.
Oh my gosh.
Later, over 200 people that were at the game went to the hospital.
Wow.
Did not need to be. 60 people were taken by ambulance from the hospital or from the game because they were sick. As soon as they get to the hospital, guess what happens? They find out that because the doctor had told them that it could have potentially have been, let me see if I can find it here. I hadn't heard of this before. Copper sulfate.
Okay.
He
I don't know
said
what that is.
copper sulfate is a concoction that was used in olden days to make people vomit. So similar to what we would call, Ipecac, right?
Uh-huh.
It would be something along those lines. And the doctor at the game said, yeah, it could be copper sulfate. All of these people are projectile vomiting, all this stuff. They get to the hospital. At the hospital, they diagnose nothing. Nothing was wrong. There was no copper sulfate. There was nothing. Within 1 hour, all but 6 of the people had completely recovered.
Dude, the mind, man.
So let me get into this, right? Because what happened was the doctor made a suggestion. He said something that was true. Now, I guess let me back up and tell a little bit of the landscape that led up to this event. Mm-hmm. In 1982, and I don't know if it was in 1982 or a little bit before, there had been a massive scare with Tylenol.
Yep.
Apparently, somebody had laced some Tylenol with cyanide, and a couple of people had died.
That's where we got safety seals.
Right.
That's where they were invented. That's why we have them now.
That's really interesting. I didn't know that.
Thing underneath. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm not trying to make light of any of this. What I'm trying to point out is that people had in their minds, based on the news that they had heard, the media that they had.
Oh, it was everywhere. Yeah.
They had heard all about how people were deliberately trying to make other people sick through these different mediums.
Yep.
So that's the landscape that everybody at this game is attending. And then 200 people. Now, I really wish I knew how many people were in attendance so I could say what kind of percentage that was of the crowd. That's got to be a pretty sizable.
This is high school football.
This is high school football.
That's got to be like half the crowd at least.
It was a pretty good percentage of the crowd that ended up going to the hospital, only to find out that it was the power of suggestion. That because they thought they might get sick, or they thought, oh, I drank the Coke, all of a sudden they got sick.
Yeah.
Power of suggestion.
It's crazy.
It's interesting. So this is called mass sociogenic illness.
I knew there was a name for it. Yeah.
Or
crazy.
The more common name is hysteria.
Yeah.
When we are in a landscape and have been fed a certain line of information, and then have a surrounding of individuals that all for whatever reason go full tilt into whatever that line of thought was, we become a victim of it as well. So the reason why I wanted to highlight this story, because I have found so many examples, and this today was the first time I've ever heard this story from 1982. But since looking it up, I have found so many examples of different people that have developed serious symptoms of diseases based on the power of suggestion, and have also been cured based on the power of suggestion. There are so many studies on the placebo effect, it's insane. So the caution, what we can learn from this example in particular revolves around the idea of what are we allowing into our minds, consciously or subconsciously, and who are we surrounding ourselves with that will then act on that information. Because if I want you to imagine this, when I was a kid, we all loved to talk about osmosis, right? The power of osmosis. I'm going to sleep on this here book and all of that information is going to magically get into my brain. And yet here we have an example of really the landscape of individuals seeping so far into their subconscious that they hear one suggestion, don't drink the Coke, coming out of that stand, and all of a sudden all of these people develop very serious symptoms. Now, I'm not making light of the individuals. I'm not saying that they were wrong or stupid or anything, because we are all a consequence of our circumstance, meaning that we have all of these media influences, and especially today we have so many people trying to get our attention to tell us so many different things. Do this, don't do that, right? We hear that all the time. The question is, what are we putting into our minds, and who are we surrounding ourselves with to magnify that information? Similar to putting a magnifying glass under the sun to create a focused beam of light. The only difference between a light bulb and a laser, focus. So how are we focusing the energy, the information that's all around us, and creating those results that we wish to see in our lives? Are we buying into hysteria? Are we just a victim of the environment around us and of the people that are surrounding us? Or can we actually harness that intentionally? There are so many studies that prove that even when people know they're taking a placebo, it still has a net positive effect in their life, just because of the motion of taking the drug, the medication, and the way their mind knows they should be responding to it.
Yeah.
Even though they know they're taking a placebo. So the question that I have for everybody, or the challenge that I really wanted to issue, is especially as we head into summertime, and especially as you may have been conditioned to or have an environment where people are telling you to take time off, to disengage, to check out, to whatever it is, are you surrounding yourself with the right information and the right people to get where you want to go?
Yeah, that's a question everybody should ask.
Yeah.
I totally agree. And, what do they say, that you're usually the product of the 5 people you hang out with?
Yes.
I think everybody probably knows that's true at this point. Like, if you're an adult, you've lived enough life to just even observe that.
Right.
I've had the advantage, I guess, of having different sets of friends through life, and I was able to just observe how that affected me,
Maybe the benefit. I don't know that that's an advantage, but of the benefit of being with several different friend groups, and then seeing the effect it has on you.
Yes. And it's crazy how much, and I was actually teaching about this concept in front of a room a few years ago, and somebody challenged me, basically saying that he spent a lot of his high school years and college age years with people who were drug addicted and struggling and stuff. He was there to help them and buoy them up, and that's what he did, and he never participated or fell into any of the activities that they were involved in. And I wish I had really I had never processed it beforehand. I was like, okay, yeah, that's a valid point. But now, after having reflected on it for a while, that's not the rule. That's the exception.
Yeah, that's the exception.
So, the rule applies, and it's not invalidated by the exception.
Right.
Yes, there will be exceptions. That's not always the case, but generally speaking, you tend to become like the people you're around. So you tend to start to think like them, and I've seen it. I've seen it politically. I've seen it both ways. So I have a friend who moved to LA. He was very conservative before he moved. He came back very liberal after a couple of years. Yep. And I've seen it the reverse. I've seen and got to know people who came to Utah and were pretty liberal in their politics, and then changed. And it's just because that's who their friend groups were. And
well, and it's not saying right or wrong, because there are benefits to every direction here, but it really highlights the idea that you need to be very selective of who you invest your time with.
Yep.
And I'm going to say the word invest, because I believe there is a big difference between being present and being on purpose. So many people are like, be present, be present, be present. I'm like, that's great. Be on purpose.
Yeah.
Be intentional with that time, Yep. Don't just be present, be on purpose. So invest the time that you have with the individuals that you're with, so that you can magnify your good and their good that they can do in the world. So be intentional with who you invest your time with. Be a greater influence for good.
Couldn't have said it better.
Amen. So wait. Couldn't have said it better. Are you voting for my story? Is that what I just heard? Did Matt just cast his vote for Jay?
Well,
I should tell you, there's an overwhelming evidence online right now that everybody is voting for. Nobody's voted one time.
Hi, Jay's mom.
Hi, Mom.
Yeah,
I'm actually going to put a post up about my mom later today on Instagram if you guys want to see that.
Oh, that's awesome.
She definitely doesn't watch this podcast.
No,
but
my mom doesn't either.
We've had a grand total of 0 votes so far, so I'm going to say I'm the winner because I come first in the alphabet.
Oh, all right. I'll give you that. I'll give you that. I'm good with it. I don't care.
No, I don't either.
I get to tell my story?
Let's hear it, Aaron.
Aaron's got a story.
I'll start my own podcast.
Okay, you let us know about that. We'll make sure your mom... Yeah, never mind. I was going to make a dumb joke. I'm going to stop that. Sorry.
He's got a killer comeback.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to disrupt that. I thought that would be better than it was. Jay, I love you.
Oh, my gosh. Okay,
You're my favorite person named Jay in that room.
Yes, that's something for sure. All right. So,
Jay's embarrassed.
I'm going to move on here. So anyway,
moving on.
The point of the story is that both of these stories, both of these examples are really designed to help and empower people. And it's not that one is more better or more impactful, because they can both be impactful at different times for different reasons in our lives. What I'm really hoping, the whole design of this was to allow people an opportunity to say, you know what, I'm going to commit to doing the hard thing. I'm not going to follow the masses, and instead I'm going to deliberately craft my success in my life by investing my time with the people that I want to invest in, and magnifying the good I can do in the world. And Scott's like, abstain. We're all winners here. Scott, you're the winner.
What Scott are we?
Kaisman.
Okay, right on. Agreed, Scott. Agreed.
So I really hope that everyone has an opportunity to take something from these stories and can use that to bless and benefit themselves in their own lives.
Yeah.
That's really what it's all about. The competition thing, that's just for funsies.
It is. And I won. But really, though, these, putting these stories together week in, week out. I've been doing this since 2019. So a lot of people probably aren't familiar with, like, they're not seeing them because I was just doing them for the pack call for a lot of years.
Yep.
I would just put them on. I think we put some on Facebook early on. I don't remember exactly how many or what, but
we did like 5 or 10 of them.
Yeah. Probably should have done more, but I would do these for the pack call just as a good way to, like, start off the pack call on a good vibe, right?
Yep.
And funny enough, I would say is probably my mindset that changed the most with these stories, because just when you're constantly looking for these stories of success and people overcoming difficult things and it'll change your mindset. That's what you start to see. That's all. It's like, holy crap, the amount of success stories out there are. So here's what's funny. When I first got tasked with it, I believe you were the one that asked me to start doing this, weren't you?
Yeah.
When I first got tasked with it, I was literally like, I don't know how I'm gonna get past a month. Like how am I going to find that many stories to just do this every week? And here we are 5+ years later, and I've got an abundance of stories still to put together.
The best part is, one, these stories are not confined to any period of time.
No.
You have literally grabbed stories from hundreds of years ago to stories that are happening today.
Yes.
And it just proves that the constant in this life is the indomitable human spirit.
Yes.
And if we can all discipline ourselves to push and to do the hard thing, to overcome, to recognize the obstacle can be the way, to, all of the things that you've been talking about now for years. I absolutely love these stories because they prove over and over and over again that we can do it.
Yeah.
That you and I can do it.
Yep.
I mean, just look at you, the transformation you've gone through this year alone.
Just the average guy. That's what's cool. Is the average guy. Yeah, I did a Good Vibrations on David Goggins years ago, and that really, helped change my mindset, because he talks a lot about just how he's not built that way. He's just some guy. He's just an average guy. He's not, like physically gifted or whatever.
That's what James Lawrence said.
Yeah.
So we had the Iron Cowboy, James Lawrence, come into the
another Good Vibrations
2020 National Conference, I think.
That's right.
And that's what he said. He said, I ended up having a full blood panel, a full, health scan done, because I wanted to prove to my kids just how magnificently blessed I was and how blessed they are, because they're my kids. Mm-hmm. And he says, everything came back normal. I was average across the board. There was nothing special about me physically. He said, everything that I've been able to accomplish has just started and ended right here.
It's in his mind, man. And he was a big one. I did a Good Vibrations on him early on, and then we booked him for the National. I wish I would have got the chance to meet him. That was the one I was not physically here for, or at least his part. I never got to meet him.
Oh, really?
But it wouldn't have been nearly as significant then
as it would
be now, because him and David Goggins were really, Goggins' book really got me off the couch. But like,
didn't you actually kind of meet him in passing?
I did. Yeah, it's funny enough. In my daily training, I just passed him on the road because he lives here in Utah and he was running, and I happen to know that his house is like 20 miles away from here. So and he was running and he was on foot. So I was like, holy crap. All right, dude. Like, because you got to run back too. Or I'm assuming that that's what he's doing, right?
Oh,
but
so funny.
It was just in passing. I passed him and I was like, holy crap, that was the Iron Cowboy. I didn't say anything. Maybe nodded. I don't remember, but
you did. You told me. I remember.
Just passed him and thought, wow, how crazy is that? He's out for he's getting his, and I'm just, he has no idea. He probably has no idea that the impact that his story on Netflix had on me. And if you haven't seen it, I'm assuming it's still there. I watched it a few years ago, but his 50-50, he did 50 Ironmans in 50 days in 50 states, which logistically sounds like a nightmare, but
oh yeah, absolutely. He did actually just he released not long ago his updated version of the 100.
Yeah. And didn't he do 101?
He did do 101. I can't even remember what he called. I don't even remember. You guys would have to look it up. But the best part is that these are normal people doing extraordinary things, which just shows that even we can do extraordinary things.
Yep.
So this has been awesome. This has been a lot of fun.
It has. Thank you.
I still won. So I want to thank everybody. I'm just saying. I want to thank you guys for being with us once again. We are going to be back next week. We do have a special guest already on tap for our next week's podcast, so be here with us. I want to remind you, the reason why Renatus Rocks is because of the people that are associated with us. That includes you. Renatus Rocks, everybody. Have a great day.